Mona, if you keep an eye on this, on the waiting room, that's great. And as I said, feel free to keep it on or off as you like. So really lovely to meet you all. I know a couple of people here, just introduced myself, but for those who don't know me, I'm Alessandra Alonso, and I'm the MD and founder of Women in Travel CIC. And we are a social enterprise based in London, UK, which means that we are driven by and measured by a social impact rather than our profit. But we are a commercial company that reinvests any surplus into the mission. So in order to achieve a social impact, we also deliver commercial services to industry. Now, our social impact and our social mission is truly about women economic empowerment. So we want to connect underserved, diverse, female and non-binary talent to the travel and tourism industry. Often this talent is underrepresented, marginalized, vulnerable, but it's also very resilient and very keen and very eager to get involved in the travel and tourism industry. On the other hand, we offer services around DI training, consulting, events, and a couple of programs around allyship, which all help us to generate precious revenue, which we can then reinvest in the business. So today, I'm very excited to have three phenomenal women and speakers. And our purpose and the reason why we are here is double. On the one hand, this is a fantastic opportunity to get together to talk about female entrepreneurship and also sort of women in Southern African tourism, opportunities and challenges that, women and entrepreneurs face in industry. But we are also going to talk a little bit about this incredible tour that Chantal, who is here, has put together, and which she is going to lead in April, and that sort of provides a real sort of panoramic and insights into women and into Southern Africa and into tourism, sort of in the industry over there. And of course, it's a leisure tour, but there is a lot of learning and a lot of potential transformation built in. And I have the honor to provide some kind of coaching upfront and after the program is finished to those who will take part. So first of all, I've spoken enough. Let me ask my panelists to introduce themselves. I'm going to start from Chantal.
Thank you, Alessandra. I'm Chantal. I'm founder and director of Themba Travel. Themba Travel is a tour operator based in the UK. But I have to tell you, I'm at my mother's house in Cape Town just for the next couple of days. And then I'm going to go back to the very lovely cold London weather.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chantal. And Lizl?
Hi, ladies. I'm Lizl Naude. I'm about 45 k's from Chantal. I'm based between Paarl and Stellenbosch, and my company is called Lilly Loompa Upcycled Homeware. So as you can see from the name, we are in the upcycling business. So we are sort of trying to enter the green tourism space, and it's so lovely to be with all of you.
Thank you, Lizl. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Leanne.
Hello, ladies. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to meet you. My name is Leanne. I am sitting in Cape Town. So dress code, which part of the world we are, right? And we are in the tourism business, in the travel business, in the hospitality business. We sort of have businesses across the food chain, and we're predominantly based in the Western Cape, which is one of the provinces here in the Cape, which is where Chantal and currently as well. And I'm very, very privileged to be conversation. I think the future of tourism, the sustainability of tourism, for us as South Africans, the quickest way to save our economy and to save our massive unemployment rate, or to lift our massive unemployment rate, is through tourism. And I'm so happy to be with like-minded people who can see that vision, and we can all share that vision.
Thank you very much, Leanne. Thank you very much. And you know, the attendees today perhaps want to put in the chat who they are and what they do, so that we can also, and our speaker can also know about you. Maybe if you put, you know, your name, where you're calling from, and if you have a business, a website, you can put it in there. Or, you know, if you just want to say what you do, why you are here, that's great. And then later on, if you have any question, obviously you can pause your mic, so sort of speak up, or you can put anything in the chat. So let me start. You know, one of the things that I was curious really to talk about, because Chantal sort of has created this tour with many female entrepreneurs in mind, you know, and with this female entrepreneurship in Southern Africa in mind. So what I would love to know, starting perhaps with Lizl this time, you know, what was your journey to where you are today? Why were you interested in entrepreneurship, and why sort of were you driven to create the business that you run today?
In my case, I don't think it was a choice. I was sort of thrown in the deep end when my family and I lost everything a few times. So we had a range of, and a series of heavy financial losses, and I was at my wit's end at the time. I think between 2006 and 2016, we went through 4 major financial crises. And I mean, it sounds ridiculous if I say it, but it's the truth. And during those times, I mean, I was a young mother, our children were young. And I remember one specific day when I felt so desperate, I literally fell on my knees and I asked God to give me an idea. And he showed me waste. It was odd, but at the time I was already working with waste on a very informal way in my home, upcycling, because we moved around a lot and I didn't have the money to furnish my home with expensive furniture and decor items. So I started basically looking to my environment, and I tried to find, usable material, and I used that material to make items that I needed for my home, like a dining room table, lighting, etc. But it wasn't until 2016 when I formally started trading with my business, and we relocated back home from Johannesburg. We moved back to Cape Town, and I realized my products were a bit too big and bulky for Cape Town, which was predominantly a tourist destination. So I went on the design path again, and I designed smaller items that would fit in a tourist suitcase, something that is unique, something that tells a story of our beautiful country and its beautiful people, and something with meaning, So that is sort of in a nutshell of how I started. It wasn't my choice to go into waste, but in the meantime, over the years, I've realized the value of waste, because it's an unused commodity and it's a very valuable commodity. Yes, we need to change our habits. Yes, we need a lot more awareness campaigns and activism towards, the manufacturers, and, speaking to them about their responsibility in terms of packaging and all those things. But in the meantime, the waste is there, the material is there, and our mission is to clean our environment, clean our neighborhoods, and clear the waste and make it into usable items that can be shipped all over the world.
Yeah. And at the same time, you are doing a great service to tourism, because you are creating something that is unique and memorable. And
Yes.
thank you for that, Lizl. And what's very interesting for me, again, sort of with my Women in Travel CIC hat on, so I've been reading and writing about entrepreneurship. And one thing I remember very clearly, probably just during the pandemic, is reading this report from the World Bank about female entrepreneurship in sort of, I think it was more generic than just tourism. Now, in the UK, female entrepreneurship is very small. You know, you're looking at 22%. Now,
Wow.
of that, what could tourism be? Maybe 2%, 3%, if we are lucky. We don't actually have those numbers, but that's my guess.
Yeah.
Africa was the continent where most of the entrepreneurship actually took place. And they were talking as much as, and this number really stuck, 52% of all enterprises are owned by women. But the issue is that it's not choice, it's default. And it's default because the women have to earn money, and they just are very creative and find ways to earn money and to make it a success because they're driven by their family and feeding their extended communities. So again, you know, there's good and bad in that. That's good because it means obviously you are able to feed your family, you are creative and innovative, but at the same time, the fact that nobody would give you the opportunity unless you decided that this is the last resort type of thing, you know, especially when it comes to investment and all of that. That is the part that I find more disturbing because, again, you know, the big entrepreneur are all men.
Yes.
And you know, there is a real change. There must be a change in mindset. Now, some women go from their kitchen table to the board table, of course, with their businesses, but it takes such a determination and so on. So, you know, it'd be interesting to hear from you about how easy or difficult the journey has been and where you are now. But I'm gonna come back to you on that. So, Leanne, and for you, what does entrepreneurship look like? From what you said before, you probably have a family business.
We have a family business, and we were lucky enough that because of the existing family business, the story is a beautiful story of how the business originated. You know, it helps in life to have a base that you can build upon, and that is privilege. And not everybody is born into a position of privilege. And those of us who know South Africa, we know our backstory, we know the traumatic past that we've had. And therefore, if like me, you're born with a white skin in South Africa to a family who could even afford to send me to school, or who had a car, or had running water in South Africa, person of privilege. And therefore, I feel, and I have a responsibility to create as many jobs as possible in the marketplace, in tourism. Really is the easiest place for us to affect change. So entrepreneurship is hard at the best of times. And all of us in this call don't need to be reminded about that dreaded C word, what that did to our industry. I promised myself that I'm not going to say that word ever again in a talk or in a meeting or anything. But we all know what that did to us and where that placed us. That was the catalyst. I was faced with a position where I had to shut all my business's doors. Now, restaurants, you lock your restaurants every night, right? But to physically lock the doors of a hotel, because hotels are open 24 hours a day, to physically lock the doors of a hotel was one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life. Literally go from room to room, switch off the lights, take the mattresses off the beds, strip the linen, storage, and lock the doors of our hotels. It was very traumatic, and it was very traumatic for all of the staff. And I thought, if I'm going down, I'm not going down without a fight, right? And I thought, how am I going to have my voice heard as a person trying to run businesses in tourism in South Africa? Because the politicians were not looking after me, my needs weren't heard, my staff weren't being paid the furlough schemes that you guys had in the UK. It was really, really hard. I thought, well, the only way that I'm going to be heard is if I put skin in the game, and I can't take association that represents our industry. And that was the catalyst of my public service. I've always been in the private sector, but it's been really, really rewarding for me to go from that position where I run my own business, entrepreneurship, where I can basically make the decisions and run the show myself the way that I want to now be in a position where, I've got to be more consultative. I've got to listen more. I possibly don't always know the right way to do things. That's been a very interesting journey for me. But entrepreneurship has allowed me to serve those roles better.
Thank you, Leanne. That is very interesting actually as well, because again, you come from a position of privilege, but by understanding your privilege, you are able to actually impact others, which is what is actually critical. Unless you understand your privilege, you can't help other people, and it's pretty fundamental to that. Chantal, you're muted.
Yes. Okay, so my journey started in travel when I worked for a travel company in South Africa. I stayed for 2 years. They kicked me out after 2 years. I had to voice a lot of the issues that was going on in the travel company, which I found was extremely disrespectful. It was exploiting people, the local people. And unfortunately, I think if you grow up in South Africa, you become a social justice activist, whether by birth or, but yeah, I had to speak up. And it was 2 years of understanding the industry, yes, but also then seeing that things can be done differently. If we change things, and there was room for change, things could be different. It could be beautiful. And I started my company, Themba Travel, when we moved over to the UK a couple of years ago. And I thought, if I started myself, as Leanne said, if you are calling the shots and you're making the decisions, this is how it's going to run. This is the way you want it. And that was entrepreneurship for me. Now, of course, registering your travel company 2019 before the C word hits was not fun. It was challenging, but I have to say, obviously, that during those years, the 4 years, a woman in travel, which Alessandra has created, has really been such a saving grace and such a great community to come in. We literally started like this with little mentoring sessions and talked and cried about what's happening and what's not happening. And I think just the support in this group has really kept me going. It's, as you said, it's not easy, entrepreneurship. It comes with loads of challenges, but we are here. And I think when we want change, you have to do it yourself. And I wasn't going to be working for someone else again and falling into what they say I can't do. And, it's actually even a woman that told me in this company that I should just take my place in a corner and be quiet. And I thought, okay, that's not going to work for me. So Themba Travel is really focusing on really responsible travel. We have our pillars in culture, community, and conservation. And those 3 things I always want to touch on when I create tours, when we create trips. We always need to touch on our culture, celebrating South African culture. We always have to have some form of community engagement because the community has to benefit. And then also conservation. We have to touch on bringing awareness to our environment. And I mean, for me, Lizl is a champion when it comes to environmental issues. And what she has created has enabled me to put her products in a welcome pack for my clients. So I think it's just a great collaboration. And yeah, it has come just out of entrepreneurship and, you know, just finding what can we do. And I stick with the thing that says, when you invest in a woman, you invest in a community. It's not just for us, it's for so many more.
Thank you very much, Chantal. Again, all this theme, the theme that we encounter, we were working Women in Travel, you know, driven by social impact, driven by the desire to make the difference. Leanne has mentioned it, all of you have mentioned it. Social innovation as well, and, you know, caring of your community, your environment. Again, another theme that runs through female entrepreneurship quite often. And this theme of collaboration, of, you know, opening up your arm and extending and welcome and wanting people to sort of benefit, you know, and share the benefits across the community. I think it is such an important aspect of female entrepreneurship, something that women, generally speaking, really believe in. And I think it makes the difference. It doesn't always make the money, but it does make the difference. And, you know, we look at things differently. And I think we also need to think about commercially, of course, and it's very important as female entrepreneurs, but definitely this, I think it kind of shares the benefit across the community much more than your typical sort of male-driven enterprise. That's for sure. So coming back to you, Lizl, I wanted to speak a little bit about the challenges. So, you know, in terms of your country, the sector, and your own experiences as well, you know, what do you think, you know, what are the challenges in tourism, female entrepreneurship, but also what are the opportunities in your view? Where do you see yourself going forward?
Yeah, I think to touch on the statistics that you mentioned earlier, I think being a female entrepreneur in South Africa is so normal. You know, it's not something you know, so unique. So I don't feel necessarily I have the issues because I'm a female. I actually think there are more opportunities because you are female. You know, it's in general the government and private sector, they favor women entrepreneurs above men, unfortunately for the men, but we're happy about those opportunities because, like Chantal said, if you impact a female business, you do impact the community because we have a heart. We moms, we just have a heart for people. The kind of challenges that I face or my business is mostly I would say the industry that I decided to, you know, follow is such a new industry that a lot of my time, a lot of the team's time goes to educating the public. So we do have products that we sell, but it's sort of a hard sell at this stage compared to selling to an international tourist, which is a much easier sell. So the locals have in the past few years, they've slowly come on board, understanding the kind of service that we render and why we do it. And once they understand what we do and why we do it, then they buy into it. You know, South Africans are extremely proud people. We are extremely resourceful. And we were talking to a couple last night. We were staying at a local guest house. And, you know, it's a common occurrence. We are extremely proud of our country, even though we face a myriad of heavy social issues. We are just so proud of our country. We will, you know, market our country to any tourist, and anyone over here is happy to show directions, you know, give a place to stay, because we're just so proud of what we have achieved, you know, never mind the negatives. So in our business, in general, I think I'm an optimist, so I'll always look to the positive in my business, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it is difficult. We're always trying to lobby for the industry. We're always looking for opportunities that the government have available so that this message can come across, you know, to the masses, so that we can actually make a little bit of a dip in the mountains of and the masses of waste around us, because it's a very overwhelming problem. So in our little corner in the world, we're trying to make a difference. I'm a solution-based person, so my mind is generally focused on how can we find solutions, because even in our day-to-day lives as entrepreneurs, I said to one lady this morning, we're more alike than we would want to admit. You know, we are all at different phases in our lives and even in our businesses, but most of us actually face more or less the same challenges: balancing your personal life, your business, you know, trying to put in boundaries in place to keep yourself sane. So yeah, those are the kind of things that I deal with on a daily basis. And I feel like with collaborating with women, we learn from one another. I always say men are only interested in the bottom line. We want to know the full story. We want to know, how do you deal with, you know, being in business with your husband? Tell me about how you manage your kids. You know, those kind of things. Women are storytellers. We want to know from one another, and we draw inspiration from one another in that way.
Yeah, you're so right. And I really, couldn't agree more with what you said, Lizl. So thank you. And Leanne, you also spoke about opportunities, and you said, you know, tourism is the sort of drives a myriad of opportunity for women. So what's your viewpoint here? What do you see?
There's a few points that I want to comment on, which is reiterating what a lot of our colleagues online have said. The first thing is I want to tell you a little anecdote about how women support each other, right? There's somebody that I know who's a very famous cabaret artist. She was one of the first Black well-known cabaret artists in South Africa. Chantal and Lizl Naude de Rocha, you know, she's a very famous cabaret artist. And she approached me one day and said she's got she's putting on a solo arts festival. She's got very little funding, but she's got this vision to put on this arts festival, but she has nowhere for her artists to stay. Can I please help with accommodation? I said to her, listen, my currency is an empty hotel bed. If I can help, I will. If I can't, it's really because I can't. So we sponsored the accommodation of the various artists that came. I saw the production be put together. It was amazing. I think artists are incredible. That was how I could support and help another woman in her project. A year later, I get a phone call from Natalia, and she says, my friend, I've got a massive tour group coming. I've got sponsorship. I've got XYZ. I've got enough money to put on the best possible show. I ask you to book the flight tickets for me. Please, can I ask you to book the accommodation for me? And that was putting her money where her mouth is. So this is how women support each other. We may not see the impact on our bottom line or on the revenue immediately when we make those sacrifices, but the universe has never not replied and reciprocated. And if we take that leap of faith on each other, when we have like-minded individuals and we know we can trust this person and they share the vision that you have, then goodness, I always say most people want to help. Most people want to support. Not everybody can, right? And if you are in a position where you can help, you really have to. And that story for me is just always incredible. How I invested in Natalia. I wasn't expecting anything to come back, and it came back 20-fold, because the heavens opened up for her, and in return she could pay that forward to me. So that's the first thing about how we need to invest in each other. And I always say, you know, when you're shopping, when you're buying a handbag, am I going to go buy something made by Zara, which is just paying for the radio button on some big executive's yacht lying out in the Caribbean? Or if I spend my money buying a leather handbag that a local entrepreneur has made for her daughter's school fees, that's paying for her daughter's ballet shoes, right? That is the difference that your money makes when you spend it with a woman-owned business. And then the last point I want to make is, you know, in South Africa, we have a policy called Black Economic Empowerment. And again, referring to our past, there's a reason we had to have legislation to redress the injustices of the past, and why we had to shift the ownership of our economy into the hands of Black people. But we're at a stage where we need to look at local economic empowerment, right? spend money in local communities, because again, that's where it makes the difference. To illustrate a practical example, along the west coast of Cape Town, there's lots of fishing communities. To me, it's the favorite part of Cape Town, the west coast. It's very quiet. The water's freezing cold, but it's tranquil. It's beautiful. There's a jazz festival that happens once a year called Jazz on the Rocks, and it's a massive party, right? People trek, they book in advance. You go camp and you watch jazz musicians perform all weekend. It's a massive draw. That one event has created employment for all of those businesses. Those families rely on that event once a year to keep them going. That's tourism, that's local economic empowerment, and that is the power of your spend. You know, when I do speaking overseas, I say to people, when you spend your rand or your money as a tourist in South Africa, you are making a difference to somebody's livelihood. It's not just money. You are literally making a change with your spend when you spend your money in South Africa as a person.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Leanne. You can feel really the passion, and I think it is absolutely so, so valuable. And, I can talk about some example at this end where we have a platform that trains sort of underrepresented, again, underserved women as tour guide or experience guide, where we help them elevate their voices and have them do tours of London for the time being through the eyes of their communities or through a different angle and lens that sort of put the spotlight on them, on their story, and also on a part of town or an angle of London that people don't know. And, the impact of that is huge, because the women are capable of, and able to get on with their life, to send their kids to school, and so on and so forth. And Elisa, who is here, has also been a part of that. So, I mean, really, you are totally right in terms of the impact that spending money, investing in women-led businesses can make. Now, I'm conscious of time and that we need to look at also at the tour. So Chantal, can you please tell us a little bit about this tour, which is so exciting?
Okay, so I've drawn my inspiration to create this tour really because of women like Leanne and Lizl, and I see Maylene has also popped in. She works for Women in Tourism, government-wise. Hi, Maylene. And they've been such an inspiration to me, and I really just wanted to just shed the spotlight on them. So this tour is really crafted from, from the beginning to the end to empower a woman. So listen, we love our men. And there are some men in the background for this tour, but every supplier of this tour is a woman. She's either the owner of it or she runs it. It's hers, and she's the entrepreneur. And so I've reached out to all these individual, fantastic, beautiful women of South Africa, and I just said, what can we do? This is my idea. I'm a dreamer. I am a visionary. I have this in mind. We can do that. We are visiting a women's center because, listen, tourism is wonderful and it's great and it can have a fantastic holiday. But there are other women that struggle. There are women that's in abusive relationships. There are, women, just different kinds of women. And I really wanted to touch on South African culture a little bit, well, a lot, and not just celebrate those women that we see in the front and are the face of their business, but also those women that really struggle at the back. And those women that work with those women, I want to celebrate them as well, because they give their time and their energy, and they care for those women. So one of the stops, and we start the tour with 2 days at a women's center, which is very precious. And they have put together for us a time to celebrate us really as the travelers. And I don't want to take away from the travelers that's going, because it's a fantastic trip and you're going to have so much fun. But there's going to be a beautiful exchange between the traveler and our ladies in South Africa. The trip is really, like I said, inspired by incredible women that does the work that sometimes they are not recognized, they're not seen. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to say, we see you, we recognize you, we're bringing you business. And that's what it's about, because we need to have that impact as well. It's not just about showing you stuff, but really impacting. So 2 days in the city with Leanne in her hotel accommodation, 2 days in a women's center in a small coastal village, 2 days on safari with a woman-owned farm out in the Karoo, and 2 days in the Cape Winelands with we're on a beautiful farm, and we are visiting Black women farmers, wine farmers. We are visiting their farms. Of course, South Africa has amazing wine farms, but we are visiting the wine farms of the women because they have a story to tell, and it's taken them hard work. It's taken them a lot of tears and sweat and struggle. And so we will be supporting them. So the tour is a 9-day tour, but literally the detail of it I've thought through, and I've asked everyone I know. I've called on them, and they've said yes, and they're excited. And I think South African women are going to give you the best ever time because they are genuine and they know the struggle, and they know that, like Leanne says, the impact that it makes on an individual family and individual's life. So there's a lot of heart that has gone into it. I'm passionate about empowering women in the industry, but in the front end, yes, we're going to have so much fun.
Thank you, Chantal. And that sounds brilliant. I wonder if there are any questions from anyone who is here about how the tour is put together. Yes, Leanne, of course.
Well, my question is not so much about the tour, but I wanted to ask the woman on the group if we can connect. I'd love to hear about the other entrepreneurs in the room. Sorry to hijack, if that's okay, but I think there's such young, inspiring minds in the room. I'd love to hear what their businesses are about. Sorry, Alessandra, I didn't mean to mess the program.
It's okay. I'm just, because of time, we just need to keep it quite tight, but perhaps very quickly. So Kirti, do you want to just briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, first of all, so nice to hear from all of you. And Chantal, the tour is really amazing. And I can only imagine that all the participants will have great fun, and they will develop meaningful connections, definitely a deeper connection. I'm joining in from India, and I have a business called Soulful Safaris. It is a tour operating company in India. I'm based in Delhi. And I'm a new entrepreneur. My business is 1.5 years old. I'm doing a program with Alexandra and Simona, and that's how I'm here.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you, Security. And Mercy had to go to jump off on another call. Eliza, maybe.
Hi, everyone. Very briefly, lovely, Chantal. I know a bit of your work, but I'm so happy to hear about this particular tour, and I know all the great women you've been working with. So I'm happy to celebrate this new tour with you. Briefly, my business, Travel Storyteller, has two sides, two hearts, the B2B and B2C. The B2C is about to be launched. I will connecting luxury traveler with the indigenous community around the world, particularly in Latin America and in some region of Africa. Yes, briefly, but yeah, here we go. And I collaborate very happily with the Women in Travel as a storyteller, consultant, and trainer. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. And Mercy had to go, but Chantal, you probably know her.
Yeah, so yeah, Mercy and Kim, they also started out of COVID and they are like a marketing platform, really for solo travelers, women travelers. So I met them also, I think, through Alessandra, and they are actually, I asked them to be part of this because they will be helping me marketing this tour. So again, women that we've met over the years, and we are kind of like, doing business with each other. Elissa was a travel writer. She was writing for me for a couple of months, blogs. So yeah, we've got it all in this one small screen. And so we just, using and supporting each other and each other's business. And of course, with Alessandra creating this platform for me tonight to do this webinar on this platform also means that whatever we make from the tour, a percentage of it, Themba Travel is putting this back into women in travel. And that is to support women from marginalized communities, women to create employment, everything, the vision of women in travel CIC, we are partnering with that. So collaboration is the word.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chantal. Now, I know we've already run out of time, but very, very briefly, what can we do to support you, Chantal? What can this community, and of course, this is being recorded, so we are going to send it off and make sure that more people see it. But what can we do to support you?
Spread the word. I mean, the idea is that we do take 12 ladies on this tour. On South African end, I suppose I'll speak to Leanne later. But I mean, we want to end off the 9-day tour with a kind of a cocktail celebration to celebrate the inspiring woman. And this comes at the end of the tour, which means that we would have moved through all of the different locations, and we're going to end up in the winelands on one of the farms, and we want to do a celebration, inspire event. I call it inspire, a little bit of glitz and a little bit of glamour, and we want loads of pictures, and we just want to celebrate those women. My heart is really just to be able to gift every traveler with a gift bag with Lizl's content in it, and have a little note, and even being able to meet Lizl on the evening. I just want people to see our women, to actually meet our women, to actually have that conversation. But I think when I get back to London on Sunday, we're going to be having to market it in quite a hard way. But as I said, the women in this community and people I've met through Women in Travel, 2 or 3 platforms are able to assist me marketing it. But for my ladies in South Africa, I just know they'll bring it.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, look, from my part, thank you very much. It's been lovely to meet you all. We are going to play our part, continue to play our part to support the tour. I think it's going to be wonderful. And I really hope it's going to be a great success and the first of many. So thank you very much, everyone, and look forward to seeing you soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.